Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. Where ordinary nights turn into sacred spaces, where stories awaken the heart and the soul finds a gentle place to settle in. Right now, as you listen, maybe you can feel the hush of the world ready to fade. Maybe you notice the familiar ache for purpose, for meaning tucked inside the quiet. Have you ever felt like there's something more in you? Like the ordinary days of your life are just the surface of something deeper, as if the undercurrent of your being is always asking, "What am I made for? Am I enough?" Or, have you ever laid in bed at night and felt a longing, that tugging sense that greatness is not just out there in bright stadium lights, but something waiting to find its shape, right here in the hush of your own spirit? Maybe you've wondered if the journey is really about basketball, business, parenting, love, or maybe it's so much softer. Just waking up to who you've always been, finding your place on the court of your own life. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too. You forget for a moment the legend, the razzle of trophies, the roar of crowds. Tonight, for this one night, let's simply remember Kobe Bryant as a soul on a journey, a young man with questions of his own, a boy longing for belonging, a person who didn't fit in the puzzle of the world until he built one out of sweat, fire, devotion, and a quiet, secret hunger to understand his purpose. So as you breathe in, as the world dims just a little more, sink back with me. Let the day's edges get porous and soft. Let your attention settle like dust under the golden lights of an empty gym where everything echoes. Here you and I will walk the inner court of mastery, not the bright, blinding one from TV, but the one you only find in the moonlight, in dreams, in that still, echoing part of yourself that says, "I'm here." Kobe Bryant's story isn't what you think it is. It isn't just the stats or banners. It's the quiet wanting, the silent losses, the brave returns to the line, over and over. So, tonight, through slow breaths and long pauses, we'll wander the road from boyhood longing to the moment he believed in his own hands, to the lessons he sowed for you, for me, for anyone sleepless and searching. If you close your eyes, you might sense the spirit of the man, not the star on banners, but the one who learned to belong on his own inward court. Ready to begin? Let's slip beneath the surface. Let's remember Kobe, the seeker. Let's remember ourselves, the seekers. Let's begin. It starts in shadows, that first ache, the half-remembered voice of youth, the soft hum of being an outsider. Kobe was always between worlds, not just by birth, but by the strange, invisible dividing lines, language, culture, the spaces where children fit or don't. As a child, he held memories that weren't just his. A father's song from American gyms, a mother's laughter echoing in small Italian kitchens, the taste of new words and old traditions blurred. He moved between these places. In Italy, it was cobblestone and the scent of olive oil, sunlit afternoons drifting lazily. In America, a sharper glare, the squeak of sneakers, the promise and weight of expectations hovering all around. Inside, Kobe felt the difference, even if he couldn't say it. Everyone around him had a certainty he sometimes couldn't find in himself. Did he speak the language right? Did he fit with the boys on the playground? Was it okay to be different? Most days he found solace in the ball, round as a full moon, spinning in his hands, a language that needed no translation. He would stay late after games, listening to the echo in the rafters, losing himself in the rhythm, bounce, shoot, miss, try again. Something about the solitude of an empty gym felt like a kind of prayer, where every sound was magnified, filling the whole space, reminding him he was still there. Even when he didn't quite know who he was yet, Kobe's eyes sparkled with a hunger not just for greatness, but for something more mysterious, an invitation to belong within and without. He watched his father, a gentle giant, respected and loved by many, always moving through different cultures with an ease Kobe didn't always feel. Sometimes he would watch his dad laughing in the Italian sun, or bustling with teammates on American courts. He saw how his father met discomfort, how he smiled wide, even when things were hard. Kobe looked at the world, wishing he could wear that same smile, feel that same belonging, but most days he felt the differences more sharply. The in-between spaces, the pauses where he was just a kid staring at his hands, wondering if he'd ever find his place. And yet the question remained, can I find myself in the midst of all this? Nights passed, questions swirled, some belonged to him, some to generations before. All Kobe knew. The longing didn't leave, it grew quietly, like a seed just beneath the surface, waiting for sunlight, water, and time. You and I know that longing, don't we? We all do. There's a flicker deep inside. Every mystic story starts here, in the silence, in the spaces where we're almost invisible, except to ourselves. Let's move gently and keep listening. Some nights in Italy, the stars hung low, thick as honey. Kobe would press his face to the window. Watching the night winds dance with the cypress trees, he would wonder quietly, what is waiting for me? He'd hold the ball to his chest, the cool leather a promise of something fixed, something true, something that never changed no matter how the world shifted under his feet. Even then, even in boyhood, there was a sense something sacred was sowing itself inside him. And maybe, through these chapters, we'll find that seed inside ourselves again. For tonight, breathe slow, let the longing stir and the journey begin. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. You've made it here tonight, at the end of another day. Maybe your mind is restless or just searching for a quieter story. Maybe you're wondering if there's another way, another layer underneath the world you see. Have you felt that? That feeling that life, even in its noise, has rooms of silence waiting, that somewhere behind every ordinary heartbeat is something quietly extraordinary. A sense that your own story matters, even if you don't know how yet. Maybe you've felt a longing to touch something deeper, even when you can't name it. Maybe you've worked so hard for something that it hurt, or maybe you've lost yourself in the trying, or maybe you just want to be seen for what's alive inside, not just what you show. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too, not just the champion or the star, but the boy who learned to listen to his own quiet longing. The man who found devotion not in the spotlight, but in the spaces before the world was awake. Tonight, we're not telling a story of achievement. We're not measuring a legacy by the world's applause. We're here to walk along the inner court, the hidden place where dreams grow real, where doubt meets practice, where mastery is born out of midnight solitude, and the only light is the one we keep inside. Take a deep breath, imagine a world where nothing matters but your presence. where your hands, your focus, your struggle, and your hope come together, and you belong fully to the moment in front of you. This is the story of a soul's apprenticeship with discipline, grace, and surrender, of a man who guided himself through the dark, day after day, because his spirit told him there was more. More than talent, more than victories, more than even what the world calls greatness. What does it mean to live in devotion, to show up again and again when no one is watching? To listen for the deeper meaning of every morning, every fall, every breath that reminds you you're alive, you're becoming, you're enough as you are, and you're ready. Let tonight be more than a bedtime story. Let it be an invitation to remember your own hidden court, the place where all your longing, all your effort, all your hope can rest together just as you are, where even as the world sleeps, you are held in the quiet company of someone who has been there too. This is the story of Kobe, not just the icon but the soul, the one who carried the fire through the long night, the one who turned pain into presence and sweat into prayer. So close your eyes. Breathe slow, let's begin. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. Have you ever felt a longing that you can't name, like a gentle ache deep in your chest? Maybe you've walked through a quiet morning, wondering if your dreams matter, or sat beneath the hush of night, watching the world turn on and feeling quietly different. These are the moments when the heart listens, even if the mind is crowded with old noise. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too. Before the arenas, before the applause, he was simply a soul searching for his place. Oh, a boy who listened more than he spoke, who wondered if the sky had room for someone like him. Not the celebrity, but the seeker behind the myth, the child who carried questions as heavy as hope. Now, have you ever caught yourself holding your breath, hoping that life will show you the way? Like, if you just listen a little harder, you might hear an answer in the gentle hum of your own pulse. Somewhere inside, Kobe lived in that space, a place between hunger and patience, faith and fear. So tonight, we honor his inner court. We step through memories and mysteries, following the quiet tracks left by a man who wasn't just chasing victory, but chasing his own becoming. Every part of you is welcome here. Your wonder, your exhaustion, your longing to be part of something greater. This isn't a story about basketball. It's about mastery, about how we each walk our own courts, searching for the angles of light that will open us up, and how, in the hush between breath and movement, we become something more than the sum of our struggles. So settle in, let yourself unfold like the world before sunrise. There's nothing you have to do, just listen. Let the story move in you as gently as night settles on the city. And maybe, as we drift through this soul biography, you'll find reflections of your own journey shimmering quietly between the lines. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. Where legends aren't carved from marble but shaped in the hush between moments. In the quiet hour when courage tiptoes through uncertainty, and hope sits cross-legged beside sleepless hearts. Maybe you find yourself lying awake tonight, feeling some heaviness glowing in your chest. Maybe you've wandered the cold side of the pillow, searching for an answer or a sign. Wondering if you could become more whole than confusion, bigger than doubt. Have you ever stood at your window, the city humming beyond the glass, and wondered if the life you're living is the one meant for you? If you could follow a thread through your days, would you find purpose at the end, or just more unraveling? That longing in your ribs, the one we don't name, that's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too. Because Kobe, the Black Mamba, the legend, began just as you do now, with a question blooming in the dark. Long before the banners in the rafters, before the world swayed to the rhythm of his name, he was just a boy. He'd lie awake too. He sensed something huge and wild inside, an ache, a hunger, but where did it lead? Tonight, let's rest in his story, not as fans, not as critics, but as fellow travelers under the same low-lit sky. Maybe you've been there, caught between wanting to matter and not knowing what that means. Maybe the only thing larger than your fear is the secret hope you're meant for more, for deeper things. Let this hour be a soft place. Here nothing is demanded. There's no scoreboard, only listening, only a gentle remembering. As we drift further, I invite you to let the weight fall from your shoulders. Let the day unclench its fist. Here at the Modern Mystic, Kobe's journey isn't a competition to be won, but a circle to come home to. Breathe in, breathe out. Let his story settle around you, candle soft and ocean wide. It begins, as all soul stories do, in the softest room of all, the room of longing. There's a humble city wrapped in the arms of dusk where Kobe Bryant's story begins. In the quiet cracks, when families are gathered by their evening meals and the day exhales its tired breath, you might imagine a young boy looking out a rain-struck window. The world felt too big and not big enough. His father would lace up his sneakers for yet another game abroad, and in that drifting, Kobe felt both the comfort of roots and the ache of distance. He couldn't quite name it then, this feeling of separation. Like the strange hush after laughter fades, or the silence left behind when a dream breaks up under sunlight. Loneliness and longing are close cousins, and Kobe grew tall alongside both. In the quiet corners of Italian apartments, between the rattle of old radiators and the melody of another language, a little boy pressed a battered ball to his chest. He listened for the sound of something calling him, not out loud, but inside. Like a chord struck softly, as days became years and new countries became old habits, the ache never fully left. It transformed, learned to wear a new face, sometimes excitement, often sharp hunger, always a wanting. When basketball courts were empty, he'd find his own shadow spinning against the walls. Imagining the sound of a crowd that existed just for him and him alone, kids laughed sometimes. Accents tumbled over themselves on playgrounds, and every so often Kobe would wonder if he'd ever belong anywhere. In these pauses, he didn't yet understand mastery, just the restless tug in his gut. Sometimes the world's noise quiets just enough for us to hear the heart underneath. Sometimes, late at night, you recall these things not as stories but as feelings, as a hunger in the bones, an ache for home. But as dawn approaches, something stirs, a first spark. It was in a quiet gymnasium, faded paint peeling on the backboards, sneakers scuffing dust. That's where the path began to change. Kobe wasn't born with it all. He practiced in secret, sneaking into cold gyms while others slept, the air thick with dreams and the echo of leather on hardwood. He once missed a shot, a dozen, 100 times. He'd stay after alone, shooting again and again, chasing the shape of something perfect he saw only in his mind. The first spark came not in victory, but in the quiet after missing. He realized mastery isn't about the scoreboard. It's about how you show up for yourself when nobody's watching. His young hands blistered, his lungs burning, heart hammering against ribs like desperate fists. But in that pain was a strange peace. The spark wasn't fireworks, it was the soft, slow glow of devotion lit from within. No one would see it yet, but Kobe did, the beginning of a fire, small, essential, trust in the rhythm of his own breath. Over time, the world would notice. But first, he belonged to silence, to the grind. And then the world, as it does, would test him. The sacred struggle didn't wait for his permission. It swept in like storm breath, heavy and real. Injuries, criticism, betrayal from teammates who couldn't read the shape of his hunger. He felt misunderstood, his drive mistaken for arrogance, his focus called obsession. But deep down, rain lashed against a window in his chest. He was both the child pressing nose to glass and the storm outside. Injury benched him, pulled him away from what he loved most. The crowd's roar, once familiar, faded to a distant hum, a sleepless night's pain radiating. Self-doubt gnawing the edges of dreams. To keep going, he learned that the sacred struggle is not the enemy, but the teacher. Some nights, when it hurts to even breathe, you discover what really holds you up in not applause, but grit. Not victory, but mining. The struggle writes its own gospel, and Kobe learned to pray with sweat, to bow through endurance. The bruises, the loneliness, the silence between seasons, these were holy things in disguise. And at a crossroads, the path forks. One night after a tough loss, Kobe sat in the locker room, sweat clinging, headlines ready to bury him. He stared at the photograph of a younger self taped to his locker, and something inside shifted. He realized mastery isn't perfection. It's coming home again and again to your why, to the child who believed. He wiped his face. The court wasn't just a stage, it was a temple. The ball not just an object, but a prayer. He found himself at the threshold, crossed over from needing to win to needing to live true. The turning point wasn't thunderous, but gentle. A slow inhale, an invitation to become more than the pain. From then on, every step onto the court was both a battle and a ritual, a choosing to return body and soul. Living truth became a daily rhythm. In the soft light of dawn, he'd rise before the sun, training while the city slept. Shooting, running, sweating, learning to keep promises to himself. Mastery became less about the finish line, more about the steps, the devotion to repetition, to showing up. He found peace in the practice, even when nobody else did. Family mornings, quiet chats with daughters, laughter in the car, teaching not with words but by the glow of example. He studied film not for ego, but to see the hidden seams, the poetry of movement. His life became a dance, one foot in hustle, one in surrender, loving fiercely, failing gently, getting up tenderly. Mastery in motion looked like grace, sometimes sharp, sometimes soft. It was how he moved, how he spoke to those who doubted, how he held space for younger players, lifting, challenging, grounding, being present, even when the room was thick with noise, learning to listen beneath the surface. Resilience was his greatest trait, a slow-burning, quiet confidence. He learned to hear fear without bowing to it, to turn pain into art, frustration into fuel. Kobe's presence on and off the court lingered like the scent of rain after drought, little moments, big impact. Noticing, breathing, returning to center, he lived by laws unspoken, the law of rhythm. Back and forth, rise and fall, win and lose, the law of surrender, trusting the process, letting go when holding on hurt too much, the law of attraction. Becoming what you wish to invite in, he walked with polarity. Knowing when to be fierce, when to be still. Life for Kobe meant honoring the cadence of effort and rest, striving and allowing, each pulse a prayer, each let go a blessing. For every season there's a reason, a time to grow, a time to release. You might feel it too as you drift tonight, the current carrying you, urging you to both strive and surrender. Let's sit in the inner court, the quiet where answers can finally be heard. If his soul sat beside you tonight, what would he whisper? You are more than your failures, you're the dream inside the bruise. Don't chase perfection. Chase presence. Mastery is coming home to yourself again and again, no matter how far you've wandered. There's beauty in the grind, the moon still rises when no one applauds. Let your hunger teach you. Let your struggle reveal your core. Now the night is nearly spent and you're still here. Let the winds of this story wash over you, not as lessons, but as remembering. You don't have to be legendary. You're already luminous simply by existing. Let these words be your soft mantra. I am present and presence is enough. I rise slow, but I rise, I fall and fall open. I honor my struggle. I welcome my spark. I am here on the inside of mastery where silence is holy and hope is home. Breathe it in, let it root in your heart. I am present and presence is enough. I am present and presence is enough. I am present and presence is enough. Good night from the modern mystic. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. Tonight, we're here together again in the glow of a small bedside lamp, or maybe in darkness, listening within for stories of hearts that learned to rise, turn, stumble, and rise again. Maybe you've felt it, that quiet ache when the world seems too much, a pull beneath your ribs, whispering there's more than what we chase by day. Maybe you've looked up at midnight, the city humming outside, and wondered if you're missing something deep. Maybe in the hush between longings and to-do lists, you've felt a subtle question: what is mastery really? Is it the trophies or something tender and hidden in the chase? That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too. Not the highlights you see on screens or the thunder of crowds, not the legend or the legacy, but the boy, the son, the dreamer pressed against the window glass of an early morning. Listen, because this story tonight isn't just about the world's applause. It's about the inner court, where every heart mites itself, where the sweat of devotion becomes something holy, where loss and longing teach more than any coach. As you lay back tonight, as your breath softens, imagine the soft echo of a basketball bouncing low in an empty gym. Imagine the shiver of a boy's hope on a cold morning. Imagine that the same hunger lives in you too. So let's drift into the dusk of remembering. Easy now, let your mind open like a blank page before sleep. Kobe's footsteps will join us here, not as a giant, but as a companion on the winding road home. Maybe you felt like you were meant for something, too quiet or too strange to name. Maybe you've longed for proof that your private struggles could become something sacred. Let's listen, not just for story, but for echoes of our own heart walking this wooden floor. Breath in slow, let the story enter you, soft and true, because here in the dark we honor the boy who searched for himself the same way we do. We honor the lost, the longing, the inner court of mastery, where your story begins anew tonight. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. This moment is for you, for the part of you that's always listening underneath the noise. For the quiet observer, the dreamer, the one who remembers. Maybe you've felt it too, that sense of standing at the edge of something big inside you, a current, pulling, asking in the small hours, can I go further? Can I become more of who I am meant to be? Maybe it visits you after the world has quieted, when your heart is its own hush. Maybe you've surprised yourself with devotion. Or you wonder if anyone really sees the marathon inside you, the nights when you showed up, not just for the world, but for the sacred muscle of your own soul. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too. Most people saw the highlights, the roar, the lights and the gold. But beyond those headlines, in the invisible gym of spirit, where few are ever noticed, Kobe found himself wrestling with the same ancient questions that move through us all. Who am I when I am alone? Am I just a sum of victories, or is there another court deeper within where the real game unfolds? Let yourself pause here tonight. Let yourself soften around the edges. You're not just hearing the story of a legend, you're touching the mirror of mastery, the place inside that aches to wake up a little more. Take a slow breath. Let's wander together into the inner court, where greatness isn't measured in trophies, but in the quiet work of becoming. If you listen close, you might just find a piece of yourself woven in every line. Because Kobe's journey wasn't just about basketball. It was about the long road inward, through longing, struggle, devotion, rhythm, and learning to kneel at the altar of our own highest self. Somewhere beneath all the cheers, there is someone, a child, a seeker, unsure and tender, asking, could I ever be enough? And there too there is Kobe, not as an idol but as a fellow traveler. So as your eyes grow heavy and the weight of the day drifts far from your shoulders, let this story hold you. Let it remind you you are seen, you are loved, and maybe tonight the inner court opens just for you. When you're ready, let's journey on. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight, the ones whose lives may look like legend, but whose real story is made of slow, hidden moments. The kind that can only be felt in the quiet, under the hush of evening shadows. Tonight you're here, soft under the weight of the day. Maybe your thoughts are still moving, rounding corners you wish you could smooth out. Maybe your soul just wants something real, something steady, something more than just noise in the dark. Maybe you've found yourself asking late at night, what makes a soul extraordinary? Why do some people seem to move through life with a fire that sings, not rages, with a confidence that feels so certain, so deep, you wonder if you could simply touch the edge of it? Maybe, just maybe, you'd remember something you forgot in yourself, or perhaps there are moments, tiny, flickering, when you've reached for a dream so big it pressed against the inside of your ribs and you wondered, am I too much? Am I not enough? Why does the world feel sacred and strange at the same time? Maybe you've experienced the silence after a win, the hush after a loss, and asked quietly, is there a secret I'm missing? Does greatness only belong to the chosen? Or is there something in the rhythm of honest work, heartbreak, and hope that makes greatness grow in us all? That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt too, beneath the roar of packed stadiums and the glowing lights. Kobe was a boy with restless questions, a young man with quiet hunger. He was an artist, a seeker, long before the world called him a champion. His story is more than basketball. It's about the sacred court inside, the place we visit when no one's watching, the inner court where devotion becomes its own kind of prayer. Tonight, let's step slow across polished floors. Let's feel the hush before the first whistle. Let's remember what it means to begin again and again. Together, we'll walk through those unseen doors where the game is the spirit and the silence is the real audience. There's warmth here, there's truth here, so settle in. Let your breath fall just a little softer. Let your story and Kobe's gently meet just for a while. As the night deepens, you're invited to listen, not for statistics or wins, but for the heartbeat beneath it all. Here in this hush, let's honor the sacred court of mastery we each carry. Because tonight, the real story is waiting between the lines, between the breaths, right here with you and right here with Kobe. Somewhere near the soft edge of memory, there is a boy in Italy, a smooth ball cradled in his arms, warm dusk flickering along cobbled streets. The air smells of sun-warmed stone and far-off dreams. This is where Kobe's longing began. It's quiet here, the kind of quiet that makes you recognize your own heartbeat. The city moves in distant patterns, church bells, laughter, but in the inner spaces, Kobe is alone with himself. He's not yet fluent in the language around him, not just with words, but with belonging itself. There's a gentle ache, a thirst to touch something lasting inside the swirl of change. Maybe you know this hunger, the way the night sometimes tastes like loneliness, even when you're loved. Maybe you've felt the slow ache to understand your own place in the world. Kobe's father, a former basketball player, moves the family from Philadelphia to Italy, and suddenly everything is new: tongues, faces, the rules of the playground. Nothing fits quite right. And so Kobe listens deeply. To the rhythm of sneakers on a foreign court, to the silence at the dinner table, to the questions that follow him through every sunrise: who am I becoming? Where do I belong? Even in the company of family, a child's heart can feel untethered in a strange land. Kobe walks home from school, the streets unfamiliar, the sky impossibly wide. He counts the cracks, the shadows, the lingering doubts that twine around his fingers. Here, the longing isn't just for home, it's for the sense of self that only solitude provides. There are moments, soft, invisible, when he finds comfort in the simple act of dribbling. The hollow echo of basketball on pavement, the reliable sound, it becomes a language he understands, even when people do not. It's his heartbeat, his promise, his faith in something unseen. Sometimes in the stillness, the world narrows to the arc of a shot, the feel of leather, the hush before the ball finds the net. Nights stretch long. The stars above Italy are cold and indifferent, but he stares up anyway, searching for answers. Can I be great? He wonders, not in the eyes of others, but in the private way only children dream. Will I ever be home? You can almost hear his questions echo across years. Maybe you remember a time when you too were out of place, longing for yourself in a world that made no promises. Maybe you still feel it on quiet nights, the wish to belong, to be understood, to stand in the center of your own court, even if you're the only one in the stands. Kobe didn't become a legend overnight. He was a child first, a soul pressed against the glass, watching, waiting, hoping. In every shy smile there was courage, in every awkward silence a prayer for belonging. This is where mastery begins, not with glory but with longing. The ache to be known, the desire to touch something lasting within the ordinary. It's here in the hush of early years that the seeds of greatness are planted in you, in me, in the young boy named Kobe. And the story is only just beginning. One evening, with the sky just starting to bruise purple and gold, Kobe stands at the edge of an empty gym. The air is thick with the scent of wood and old sweat, a hum of fluorescent bulbs that sound almost like silence. He's 13, tall for his age, but carrying a weight even taller. In his hands, the ball feels more like a companion than a game. He dribbles, slow, measured, each bounce a question, each breath a chance to listen inside. And then, quick as a whisper, something shifts. He stops hearing his father's voice, his coach's drills, he hears his own. A thrill moves through him, sudden as torchlight in a cave. The world narrows to a moment, him and the rim, the soft arc of hope. He shoots. The swish isn't loud, but it's final. For an instant, he's weightless. No fear, no anxiety, only a glimmer of something sacred, something awake. He wants it again. This isn't about points or winning or applause. It's communion, body, mind, spirit, aligned for a breath. He feels the line between himself and greatness grow thinner, not because he's special, but because he's present. From then on, the gym becomes his temple. The rituals, drills before dawn, jump shots alone are acts of devotion. He glimpses, for the first time, the space between effort and surrender. It isn't just about trying hard. It's about giving everything but letting go of how things turn out. Kobe's family sees the change. His mother worries it's too much, that he'll lose himself. His father smiles but quietly aches for Kobe to have more than just the burdens he once carried. But Kobe, he's in love, not with the game, but with the feel of the shot that comes from somewhere deeper than skill. He begins to study, not just moves, but the inner world that makes a player flow. He reads, he watches others, he questions himself. Every missed shot hurts, but it shapes him. Every stumble is a chance to ask, what do I really want? The answer is never just victory. It's mastery, the ability to lose and begin again, to fail and learn, to breathe and step back onto the court of himself. For the first time, Kobe sees that greatness isn't found in noise or approval, but in those small, trembling moments when you try again, even when no one is watching. It's his first spark, the flicker that will become a flame, one quiet night, one honest shot, one leap deeper into the mystery of devotion. But every fire faces its storm, and the years that follow are not gentle. With greatness comes a struggle, and Kobe learns quickly that love for the game cannot shield him from the ache of being misunderstood. High school in Pennsylvania brings new tests, competitors that doubt, teammates that bristle at his intensity, a world that demands proof before praise. On the surface, it looks like a test of basketball, but inside it's a test of self. He wins some games that no one remembers. He loses in ways that sting, that echo in his bones far beyond the final whistle. The noise of critics becomes a shadow in his mind, a whisper that he might not be enough, or worse, that he's simply too much. There are nights when the ache is sharper than any defeat. He questions not just his skill, but his spirit. Is he wrong for caring so much, for wanting so much, for demanding so much from himself and everyone around him? He tries to dim his fire, to fit in, to move small in a world that likes its champions humble, unthreatening. But each dimming makes him lonelier. Even in triumph, his spirit refuses to shrink. He faces injury, doubt, jealousy, betrayal by friends who can't keep up with the speed of his hunger. His body bucks against his will at times. Pain becomes a teacher, so does solitude. He learns devotion's dark side, the cost of focus, the price of turning inward when the world wants outward performance. He learns to walk through storms that look like applause but sound like silence in his own heart. Maybe you felt that too, the sacred struggle that looks like success but feels like survival. The tension between being who you are and surviving what the world wants you to be. Each trial shapes him, the pain presses him deeper, sharpens his edges. He learns to love the process, not just the prize, to find meaning in the endless cycle of work, recover, repeat. Here, mastery is not a destination. It's the willingness to return again and again to the court of your own soul. In the quiet hours before dawn, there's a moment that changes everything. Kobe stands alone on a cold court, hands numb, breath rising in little clouds. No music, no coach, no camera, just him and the rim. He misses and misses and misses. And until something unravels inside, some old script that says you must be perfect to be loved. He feels the old stories, fear of failure, hunger for approval, fall away. He stands still, ball at his side, heart wide open. And there it is, a sensation soft as morning fog, acceptance, not resignation, acceptance. He meets himself as he is, a boy, a man, an artist in progress. The missing, the losing, the flailing, they are not curses, they are invitations. He breathes slow and full and decides, I will love this work, this pain, this way of returning to myself. I will love both the beauty and the brutal. I will show up, no matter the weather in my heart or the scoreboard in my life. From this moment on, his life changes, not because he stops losing or hurting, but because he refuses to abandon himself in the process. He is not just an athlete. He is becoming a mystic of motion, a soul who seeks meaning in the ordinary repetition of a ball, a breath, a prayer. After that turning point, the rhythm of Kobe's days changes. He wakes before the sun, tracing routes only the faithful know. His life becomes a meditation, each shot a bead on a rosary. There's a flow, a quiet confidence, but it isn't arrogance, it's devotion. He arrives before others, stays after. Success becomes a question of presence, not applause. He falls in love with the process, the burn of muscles, the sting of sweat, the gentle silence between heartbeats. His teammates notice, some scoff, some draw near, but Kobe pays less attention to the crowd and more to the current, an inner river, always moving, always new. He listens to the space between what he thinks he wants and what the work reveals. He's asked to lead, so he leads with actions, not words. He finds grace in discipline even when joy is hard to find. Every new challenge, every clutch moment, every injury becomes another prayer to the court. He is not perfect. He fights with coaches, falters in relationships, but he returns again and again to the sacred space within. He learns to forgive himself, to breathe, to begin again. His mastery is living, moving, never still, never satisfied, always growing. There is one trait that shines brightest, the willingness to return. No matter the score, no matter the pain, Kobe returns, again and again. He becomes known for his work ethic, yes, but it's more than that. It is a kind of spiritual gravity. A magnetism born of presence. When he steps onto the court, you can feel the air change, the hush before the leap, the faith in each moment's possibility. He welcomes pressure, lets the moment teach him. Pressure is not a curse, it is an invitation to presence. Clutch moments, last-second shots, failures in full view of millions, he meets them with open eyes. His mastery is not about domination. It's about relationship, his own with the moment, the game, the team, and with himself. He becomes an artist in action, painting the game with patience, fire, and surrender. The world sees highlights. But what the crowd doesn't see is the quiet, relentless devotion, the endless beginning again. If there is a secret law guiding Kobe's life, it is rhythm, the willingness to move with what arrives, to dance with defeat as much as triumph. He honors discipline but lets it breathe. He surrenders outcomes but never effort. He learns polarity, the tension between hunger and humility. He is relentless but never rigid. His life becomes proof that greatness is not rigid achievement but living inquiry, an openness to what the game and the day will bring. There is attraction, too, the quiet magnetism of doing what you love in plain sight. In a world obsessed with results, Kobe's devotion changes the meaning of success. It becomes about showing up, not shining out. There's surrender, yes, but it's the surrender of a river. Fierce, patient, always moving forward, even when the stones bruise its course. So imagine, just for a moment, that the soul of Kobe Bryant is here, quiet as candlelight in this room with you. You ask, what would you whisper to us now, with the night soft and uncertain? You might hear, find what you love, truly love, and give it everything, not because the world is watching, but because your soul is. Sometimes no one will understand, love it anyway. You return, return, return. When you fall, when you doubt, when you break, return. That's the rhythm, not perfection, not fame, return. Pain is not punishment, it is the price of passion. Find meaning in the ache and let it shape you, not shrink you. Honor the temple of routine, the early morning, the last shot. These are sacred, these are where you met yourself. And finally, trust that greatness is not a trophy. It is a relationship with your own spirit, a willingness to bring your longing, your fear, and your devotion to each new day. You listen and you feel a warmth like the hush in a gym before the first whistle. You realize wisdom doesn't shout. It whispers in the night, in the lonely moments, in the honest work you do when no one's watching. And you remember, maybe for the first time or all over again, that you too are part of this lineage. Not of champions, but of seekers. Of those who love greatly, ache deeply, and keep returning to the court within. And so, as the night folds around you and the light grows soft, let's find a mantra to carry through to morning like the slow pulse of a drum. A simple phrase, each word a step toward the center of your own heart. I am here to return, I am here to remember, I am here for the sacred ordinary. Let the rhythm fall, gentle as breath. I am here to return, I am here to remember. I am here for the sacred ordinary. Feel it in your chest, soft as the swish of a shot in an empty gym. I am here to return, I am here to remember, I am here for the sacred ordinary. Let this be your echo, your permission slip, your quiet devotion as sleep drifts in. The tomorrow will come with new questions, new longing, new chances to begin again. For now, let the story live inside you. Let the hush of the inner court hold you, knowing you too are part of something sacred, exactly as you are. Good night from the modern mystic, and from Kobe's sacred court of mastery, alive and breathing inside you. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. Tonight, maybe you're here because rest is slow to come. Maybe you've carried dreams too heavy, or aches that keep your soul awake, or perhaps in a quiet room somewhere you're missing a voice, that voice inside you that asks, "Who am I when the world is silent?" Have you ever felt a longing that doesn't speak in words? A gentle pull, almost like a memory from a life you've lived in your dreams. Maybe on a sleepless night you have pressed your hand against your chest, searching for a heartbeat deeper than your own. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt, too, not just the sharp shout of a crowd, or the echo of a leather ball against wood, not the dizzying lights or the hunger that burns in millions of eyes, but something softer, something even more ancient than applause. As the world called him a legend, he whispered quietly to himself, searching for the place where greatness and loneliness meet. Where ambition and surrender flow in the same current. He was a seeker just like you, with questions that kept him awake in the small hours, with untold stories tangled behind the hard edges of success. Have you ever noticed how silence gets louder after victory? In those silent moments, Kobe heard the ache of wanting more than gold, the pull toward mastery, the desire to touch something sacred inside himself. This story tonight, it's not about winning or losing. It's about the inner court, that space beyond competition, deeper than talent, softer than pride. You've known it too. The quiet after the storm, the slow breath at the bottom of your being. That's where Kobe lived, even as the world watched with hungry eyes. So let's walk together, softly, slowly, through his memories and musings, his struggles and awakenings, because in his story you may feel your own. Let yourself breathe a little deeper. With every soft word, let weight fall from your shoulders. Tonight, there is no race, no noise, only this gentle remembering. In the shadowed corners of greatness, we find each other not as fans, but as fellow wanderers, searching for home inside ourselves. To settle in, trust the hush between each line. This is Kobe Bryant, and the inner court of mastery you hold too. Or the night is spacious. There is time. Listen with the part of you that has always known you are still becoming. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight. You know those nights when you can't sleep because your heart is wrestling with something unseen? Maybe a whisper that you were made for more, maybe a restlessness that's as old as the stars, maybe just a sense that in this big spinning world, There must be a deeper court within your own heart that you haven't stepped onto yet. Maybe you've felt the ache that comes not just from pain, but from desire to create something beautiful, to master your own breath, the way some people master a brush, or a ball, or a life that refuses to be ordinary. Have you ever looked into the darkness, waiting for dawn, and wondered if discipline could be as sacred as prayer, if sweat and silence both have their own kind of grace, if sometimes greatness sneaks up on you because you kept showing up, long after the world stopped watching, maybe in the slow beating of your heart and the rhythm of your own longing? You've wondered if your struggles, a missed shot, a quiet heartache, a dream deferred, could shape you into something new. That's exactly what Kobe Bryant once felt, too. He's not just a legend from the stories you've heard. He's not just a man in purple and gold, rising higher and higher game after game. Underneath all of the shouts and highlights, behind the spotlight and the banners, there was a human being who once lay awake, searching the night for something more. Imagine dawn just beginning to break over a quiet city, one small room, a boy awake before the world, sneakers laced in the hush, breathing icy air, bouncing a battered ball against hope itself. What makes someone get up before the sun for years, for decades? It isn't only ambition. Sometimes it's longing, deep, gnawing, sacred longing to know who you could be if you walked to the edge of what's possible and then went beyond. Tonight we won't talk about trophies or the myths we hold about fame. Tonight let's step softly, slowly onto the inner court of mastery, the place where the world's noise falls away and your soul mates its own measure. The court where Kobe became not merely a champion but a seeker, a student of his own extremes. And as you settle into sleep, slow down your breath, let my voice become a gentle echo in your own story. Because this isn't just about remembering someone else. It's about recognizing the same quiet hunger inside yourself. So, close your eyes, let the day fade away, and let's begin to walk together, step by step, breath by breath, on this journey through the life of a mystic hidden in motion. Let's remember Kobe Bryant, the boy, the seeker, the man who never stopped looking for light in the dark. As you listen, let your own heart become a little softer, a little stronger, one sacred breath at a time. Welcome back to the modern mystic, where we remember the mystics hidden in plain sight, where we let the day settle behind us and travel inward into the spirit stories of real ones, the quietly luminous, the impossible dreamers, the keepers of a sacred endurance. Tonight, let's slow down together. Maybe you've come here carrying the weight of old questions, or maybe it's just a quiet ache, the sense of some deeper court, some inner place we're meant to enter, even if the door's still closed. Have you ever felt moved by something you can't explain? Like you're chasing a shadow in the early light or feeling the hush before a long-awaited game?